On behalf of the Ralph H. Johnson VA Medical Center, it's my pleasure to welcome you today to our Memorial Day ceremony. Thank you all for sharing in this occasion as we remember the brave men and women who gave their lives for our freedom. At this time, please join us for our invocation, followed by the national anthem sung by Miss Sierra Randolph and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Fred Lazinski. Please rise for these events. Our invocation. O God, you have given us the ability to remember. We can remember events, moments, and experiences of our lives, and also share in the collective memory of a family, a community, a state, a nation, and our culture. But we can also forget. We can forget to remember. We can forget to remember the more than 1 million who have died in service to our country. We can forget to remember those who stood at Concord Bridge and those who struggled to survive the winter at Valley Forge. We can forget to remember the litany of conflicts that secured our nation's borders and established a right to sail the 7 seas. We can forget to remember the strife of civil war and the quest of a nation to redefine freedom. We can forget to remember the terror of the trenches and the deadly gases that called the world to the war at first time. We can forget to remember the meaning of a total national commitment to defeat threatening powers of global domination in a second war to end all wars. We can forget to remember the sacrifice of those who took arms to hold the line in conflict after conflict, preserving world order and creating opportunities for peoples around the world to know new freedom. We can even forget to remember that each generation must have those who will stand to preserve the beacon of justice and truth that we have come to believe is God's gift not just to America, but for all people. It is so easy to forget. That is why we gather today. We gather not to celebrate war or the power of might, but to remember the lessons learned by the sacrifice of lives given in service to ideals greater than our own personal gain or reputation. We gather today to remember not only those whom we can name in our hearts, but also those who are unknown to us except as revealed in the freedoms that they preserved through sacrifice of their lives. This Memorial Day, we remember. We remember that we gather as we have for over 50 years to pray for a permanent peace. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Those of you who have seats, you may be seated. It is now my pleasure to present to you our acting director, Mr. Scott Isaacs. Mr. Isaacs.
Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us for our Memorial Day ceremony. I am honored to take part in paying tribute to the memories of the men and women who wore our nation's uniform and for whom our duty to our country meant great, if not the ultimate, sacrifice. Today, we often hear the phrase, freedom is not free. It's not a cliche or a slogan more suited to bumper stickers. Freedom is not free is the banner under which more than 40 million Americans have fought and more than 1 million of our sons and daughters have died since the days of the American Revolution. Today, we salute all of our military heroes who have served our nation and pay tribute to those who made the ultimate sacrifice. If you are a family member of a veteran, you deserve our thanks as well, because families of warriors also serve on the home front and in the hearts of their loved ones who are on the front lines. And to those who have lost a husband, wife, son, daughter, grandparent, aunt or uncle, anyone dear to you, we recognize your loss is a deeper one than many will ever know. We are truly grateful for your sacrifice. We also remember those who came home but paid the price of serving in other ways. Some have injuries and physical disabilities. Others carry scars that cannot be seen but are just as real. To these men and women, we humbly say thank you and Godspeed on your journey to recovery. For us in the Department of Veterans Affairs, Memorial Day is a special time of remembrance for the fallen, but it is also very much about those who remain. More than 23 million veterans are living, working, and contributing to our societies today. In serving those who have served all of us, we honor the heroes who gave their full measure. I also encourage you to join Americans everywhere next Monday, May 27th at 3 for the Memorial Day National Moment of Remembrance. Wherever you are, please pause for 1 minute in this act of national unity to demonstrate your gratitude and respect for those who died for our freedom. Thank you for being here today and for your commitment to keeping the flame of our veterans alive. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to introduce to you a true American hero, Chaplain Captain Roscoe Rector. Chaplain Rector served 4 years in the reserve and 32 years on active duty, including a tour in Vietnam. He retired in 1998. Chaplain Rector, thank you for your service and for sharing with us today.
Thank you, John. I don't know whether I would look at myself. I saw a letter from my high school reunion class not long ago, and they had people that were being introduced to the Sports Hall of Fame, and my name was on that list to be voted on. And I thought, well, I was a mediocre football player and very slow at basketball, and I couldn't hit a baseball. When you call a true American hero, I turn around and I look at you all. Those who are serving now, our veterans who have come out today to take part in this service of remembrance. I had a captain one time who used to, when somebody would brag on a prayer that I said on the ship, he said, "Don't brag on him too much. That's what he gets paid to do." It is a great honor for me to be a part of this Memorial Day service. When I was asked to speak, I had to think a great deal about what I would say. It's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not even really about the families, even though they did sacrifice. But it is about the memory of those who made that ultimate sacrifice, that dedication to duty, to the men and women who lost their lives in combat defending our country and defending those divinely inspired ideals of liberty, freedom, and justice for all people. They took up their arms when they were called upon and went to war. They lost their personal battle on the battlefield, and yet through their ultimate sacrifice, the tide was turned and the larger battle in the war was won. Edmund Burke, an Irish statesman, once said, once it was said that he was the first voice of conservative politics, said that all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men and women do nothing. And in the book of Ezekiel, the 22nd chapter, as the city of Jerusalem was being built, we see these words written. And I sought for a man, and I'll add a woman, among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I might not destroy it. The scriptures also end up saying that I found none. I will not do a whole lot of quoting of scripture today, or throw out many numbers to you about our number of veterans, how many were lost in various battles. But I can say with some assurance that over these few hundred years, we have looked for men and women to make up the hedge and to stand in the gap. And there have been many. All gave some of themselves in conflict in our nation's battle, and some gave all that they had in defending our country from those that would destroy it. And God has blessed us. Those who we remember today wore the uniform and took an oath to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and walked. No, I would say they ran into the fray. And as I started thinking about this, I started thinking about the man who this medical center is named after, Ralph Johnson. And I wondered what went through his mind just before he threw himself on that hand grenade to protect those around him. We would say that was a very foolish thing to do, and yet he would probably argue with us today and say, that's what I was called to do. That's what I put the uniform on for, and that's what I went into the fray for. You see, the words that I would say to you are abstract. They are thoughts of faceless fathers and sons and daughters, husbands and wives. They are long forgotten battles in fields with strange names like Sorrento, Cassino. Many are buried in places like Flanders Field. There are lost hopes and dreams. And what I want us to do today is to put a face on the remembering that we do for this Memorial Day. My Memorial Day is very personal. A young sailor named Moyer Spears, whose face looked out from a tombstone in a small country graveyard in a small cotton mill town in Virginia. I used to go by that tombstone and see it every day. He had a white hat on, and if you're a sailor, you know what it means to have your white hat winged. He had the hat sitting on the back of his head, and he had a smile on his face that said, "The world is mine." He went into the South Pacific somewhere and never came home in 1944. I had an uncle that I never knew named Gene Chick Evans. He married my beautiful aunt and went off as a newlywed husband to fight the Germans in Europe, and he never made it off of Omaha Beach that fateful day. I had a cousin who was way older than me, Frank Cantor, I never knew him, but I loved his mother, Aunt Carrie, who was the joy and the laughter of our family. She went to the cemetery in Salerno in southern Italy to visit his grave, and she came back with a song in her heart and had closure. Raymond Harrell, the adopted son of a family in our town, and I watched him grow up. He joined the Marine Corps, and in 1968 he died in some field in Vietnam, proud and courageous. These are my personal memories, reminders that I have. They are reminders that each one of us carry with us today. The name, a face, a grief-stricken family. And this Memorial Day, let it be up close and personal for you and me alike. I will not be sad this day, though, even though it is up close and personal. Our 23rd President, Benjamin Harrison, said, "I never think of this day, the Memorial Day, as one of mourning, nor have I felt that half-masted flags were appropriate. On Memorial Day, I have rather felt that the flag should be flown at full peak, because those whose dying we come to commemorate rejoiced in seeing it where it was, there at full staff. Their valor placed it there. We honor them in a joyous and thankful, triumphant commemoration of what they did. I will not be sad today. Lift the flag to full staff and wave it back and forth, and let the band play victory marches. They, the fallen heroes, the real heroes, and each one is, would have it no other way. They died for freedom. They died for God, family, and country. But most of all, they died for each other, a band of brothers and sisters. And this is why we must gather on these hallowed grounds to remember and honor them and say quietly to them, thank you for what you have given us, and to promise to them that we will continue to carry the torch of freedom that they have passed, and that we will pass it on to the next generation. God bless those who have fallen. God bless those who carry the wounds of war with them today. God bless each of you here today, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Chaplain Rector. At this time, I would ask you to join me in a moment of silence in memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and in honor of those who have so bravely borne the battle. Thank you. Thank you all for being a part of our Memorial Day ceremony and for honoring our veterans. May God bless the memory of all who have made the supreme sacrifice for our nation, and all of those who have served and were willing to make the same sacrifice if called upon. This concludes our ceremony. Thank you very much.